feel so lost, 'cause I don't know what to do.
I know we're about to get right into it, but I just want to talk about these lush notes. I'm getting a lot of questions about, like, how do I make my chest register even when I'm working on my mixed register? And the answer is to spend time. I say this a lot on vowels. Why do I talk about vowels? Vowels are the manipulation of the vocal tract, and when you're in different parts of the register, you need different vowels, different manipulations of the vocal tract to hit the resonant frequencies of the note that you're singing. Simply put, you just make some vowel sounds on your bottom. So, and you'll see and you'll hear that the volume changes depending on what vowel that I'm on. So the idea is that you form your vowels to even out your register. You form your vowels in different parts of your register to get maximum volume, or to get less volume. So this is a classic example of that. So what if I choose is very dramatic. The is not a consequential word in this situation, and so she doesn't punch it. She doesn't give it the vowel. She doesn't give it the juice.
Now what if I choose the wrong thing to do?
She has a diphthong or triphthong on wrong. Wrong, and she's wrong. So it's not just a matter of getting a lot of sound and a lot of volume, it's also expressivity. Vowels are one of the fundamental elements of singing. The manipulation of the vocal tract is fundamental. And I think it might bother, I presume it bothers people that I talk about it in almost every video, but it's worth mentioning in every situation because what experts do is, like, complications in anything, in any skill, and this is definitely true for singing, is when the fundamentals intersect. When old and hard, like old school, like basics of singing start to cross paths is when you get into complicated stuff. But if you don't have those fundamentals, it's not happening for you.
So I need to talk to you, yes.
Ah, it's like so smooth. It's like butter.
Especially today, when my life feels so cloudy.
So, sorry to interrupt it. So a lot of times, in a lot of different mixes, times when you, especially this is extremely prevalent in pop music, is that people will add a 10K Hertz boost, and what that'll do is it'll give you a little sizzle. So this is what that sounds like. So when you hear that sizzle come in, that's an EQ. I'm boosting up my frequencies. Now, whenever people record R&B live, or soul, or anything that's like gospel like that, you don't generally get that boost. And so what that does is it allows the singers to add a little bit of their own sizzle.
Ask you for your
Guidance. She's putting a little, just a touch of rasp there. And it's awesome.
Especially today.
Same there, a little bit, just a little bit.
When my heart.
That's so good. Runs really intimidate people, and this is something that gets asked a lot. How do I do runs? How do I learn my runs? What do I do? And this goes back to breath and vowels. I will make a scales video eventually that people can practice with. There's just so many, I haven't really gotten around to it. But when you want to make a phrase out of a run, this goes back again to vowels and orienting the vocal tract towards different frequencies. Like, listen to how it's like shaped. The phrase is shaped when she goes on the run. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not, it's not, right? Like, not everything's the same. It's, I would have to really practice that to pull that off, right? She's not just singing the note, she's shaping it. And that matters a lot. You'll hear it, like Jasmine Sullivan, like anyone who's really good at doing runs, they'll shape the actual phrase, right? It's music, it's not just a bunch of notes. And it kind of gives it that, with that ah vowel. It gets a little bit more volume in there. It's really cool. Very subtle, but really cool. Whoa! I was about to talk about the background singers, and then that happened. Whoa! Great background singers. Sorry, just respect. Like, just a moment. That's really tight. They're very tight. Okay, but my chills are going away, so we're gonna have to get the chills back. Whew! Okay, let's talk belting. Belting is really interesting. Well, it's interesting for me now because I'm only more learning about it now. So belting, what happens when you belt is that there's, right around here, the lower part of the larynx, there's what's called the cricoid cartilage. So what happens when you belt is you tilt that sucker, and it really thickens your folds, which is what makes belting loud. So when you thicken your folds, more breath pressure kind of comes up behind it. So, you know, it builds up, it builds up, it builds up, and then it lets go. And it can do that even on a high note, which is why belts are so powerful. The trick, though, is you have to have expertise in your breathing, because if you build it up too much, the breath pressure, this is what happens. That hurt. Shouldn't have done that with the ring on. Ow. But that can cause a vocal hemorrhage. It's a big slap. And you have to remember, like, you know, for men, vocal folds are about the size of a nickel. For women, the size of a dime. These are gentle, very delicate things. And if you're tilting that sucker, that cricoid cartilage, and you're really thickening your folds and you're putting a lot behind it, you're going to get an injury. I'm editing the video and I just kind of wanted to insert an asterisk here. If you've been around this stuff your entire life, you've been around gospel, you've grown up in this sort of church education, you probably can do all these things without having to worry about it. I'm not trying to be an alarmist to someone like, you know, Yolanda Adams or Leandra Johnson or, you know, Karen Clark. All of these people can just do all of these things because they've been doing it their entire lives. It's just that for us who have to learn these things, we do have to be very careful. What is also challenging too in this particular phrase is that she's alternating between high and low. And the reason that's more difficult than just kind of holding a straight note is because you basically have to do the equivalent of holding that high note throughout consistently. Because if you don't, you're going to try to go back up and it's not going to work out for you. You're going to go flat. So what she's effectively doing is she's sustaining that high note and then kind of going down and back up. But she's thinking that higher note. Okay. Sorry, another editing like little thing here. That E vowel that she has right before the belt is on the same note as the belt. But she just brilliantly brings it back a notch. She puts her larynx in kind of a vertical position. There's no tilt, there's no nothing. She's just it's there, it's higher, but she's not giving it as much juice because that super cool belting phrase is coming up. And that's just a super like little nuanced musical and technical decision that I just wanted to point out because it's so cool. Another quality about belt versus what's the more classical way of going up high is the thyroid cartilage tilt. Thyroid warms up the voice. So if I go, let me just turn on the piano. I'm not moving my larynx there. Right, and a little bit of bleep there, which I have to fix later. But that's the thyroid tilt. It introduces vibrato and warms up the tone. But when you belt, it tends to highlight like higher frequencies, and it doesn't really warm up the sound. And so when you listen to the frequencies of singers, I know this is getting hyper technical, but there is actually a way to analyze vocals where you have like an entire diagram, spectral analysis. And belting is just hot in this little zone here. If you listen to the belting versus like her other notes, you hear what I'm saying? That quality of belt, like it's just, she's hot in a certain range of frequencies. She doesn't have a lot of luscious lows. That's belting. I'm not criticizing her. That's just the quality of a belt. And it's just cool. I don't know. I nerd out about frequencies because I guess I am a nerd. And then that tilt to warm up. She's got this lush voice. It's like, But she's not a one trick. She's got all these colors. She's a painter.
There's no pain Jesus can't feel.
That's a radically different voice right off the bat. And this is an important lesson to learn. You know, with guitars, with basses, with whatever, you can buy a different one. But we get one body, one voice, one set of folds, and we kind of have to work with what we're given. And that's really, really, really frustrating. But, you know, and I think a lot of people like love the big, powerful singing like this. I mean, I wanted to be that for the longest time, but what we're going to hear, I'm sure, is from this lighter voice singer, we're going to hear some wonderful things. Never count yourself out when it comes to your own instrument. There are fabulous singers of all kinds of varieties. All right, so I talk about vowels and manipulating the vocal tract. The lips are part of that. Let's look at this whoa. Look at her lips here. Feel at that lovely smile, little lilt. Wonderful, like a run that kind of like lets it drop off. A very casual kind of statement. I love that. So she has a lighter voice, but she knows how to add depth to it in the chest. So, oh. When you extend your lips, you extend the vocal tract. Kind of like a trumpet. You know what I mean? When it goes lower, it does that. You can do that with your lips. Oh. And you get a nice sound here. All right, y'all. Excuse me. My dog is needing it some attention.
Human silence. Pet me now.
He cannot hear.
Ooh. I like she puts that little brass there. You know what I mean? Here, let's go back there. I'm multitasking right now. Where's the button? There's the button. Right?
Do that again and I'll poop on your bed.
Right. As opposed to what we were looking at before, which is the ooh, right? So if you retract your lips also, you get that brighter sound, but she's also putting that tongue super forward and wide to get maximum brightness.
Let's talk more, pet.
Aren't you?
You have yourself going through right. I want you
Ooh, I was just about to comment on the contrast. So she's been doing those runs, and then, like, at first I was like, sometimes you got to be patient with a musician. Like, sometimes what they have to say takes a little bit. Like, they're not getting there in one phrase. So what's cool is that run, those are, you know, it's a lot of notes, a lot of speed, and I was like, why is she doing so much of that? But it makes sense after you wait a little bit, because then she starts hitting those consonants really hard. So it's like, you know?
You were warned, human.
You're fine. That's not about you.
are going through. You got to know that you got more fight in you.
Ooh. Whew. Those growls and stuff are amazing. My goodness. Hold on, let's... Dang, that's really something. And that's what creates that kind of distorted sound, is that it's just kind of the folds smacking together. It's usually done lower, right? You can do that, and you can do that for like metal screaming or like throat bass. But when you do it higher, you kind of get that really like frying sound, that grindy sound that we love so much. But the issue with it is that it's hard to do safely. Because no matter what, it's a tiring thing to do. But, you know, like, she's only on stage for however long, and then she's probably got a lot of time after that performance, right? So it's not that you can't do things that are inefficient or potentially, like, risque. If you know what you're doing, one, and then two, you use it in a smart way, which is to say sparingly and judiciously, which is what she did. So, ain't no problem. Woo! Woo! I'm sorry I haven't said anything to comment, but like I'm being served right here.
Hard times and through the rough times, I know he did.
And she's giving all of that while also having incredible command. That's really difficult. It's so easy when you get really invested to tighten up, but it takes a level of mastery of your own body, of your own instrument, to do this intensive performance, but be cool as a cucumber. It is so hard. I love it. She's working the crowd. She's like, do you feel it? Do you feel it? This is performing chops right here. I'm right there with you. Like, woo! I love this handoff. I love it so much. I'm so happy right now. Like, I love it. I love it. I love it because she's giving it. And this is hard. This is as a performer. If someone does that and then they're like, you go, the temptation is to go, ah. But if you're all the time, there's nowhere to go. You have to ebb. You have to flow. You have to pace it smart. And so what she does is when she's handed that, listen how she pulls it back. She's like, no, I feel you, but let me talk for a second. We're going to talk for sometimes there's so much power in quietness. There's so much power in saying very little or saying it softly. Yes! 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 Woo! You gotta be kidding me! Whew. Damn!